Bueno, familia, cuéntenme. ¿Se acuerdan de la sorpresa? ¿Se acuerdan que les dije que les tenía una sorpresa? Bueno, miren la sorpresa aquí. Miren la sorpresa donde estamos. Estamos en el Capitolio de Tallahassee, en el Capitolio de la Florida. ¿Y qué estamos haciendo aquí? Simplemente algo sumamente importante. Algo que todos los que aman la libertad, que todos los que quieren de verdad acabar con el comunismo donde quiera que esté, tenemos que luchar por ello. Y nos encontramos aquí, apenas a casi algunos minutos se pudiera decir que llegamos. Hay muchos representantes estatales, sobre todas las cosas, los que han presentado esto que vamos a hacer acá hoy. Como pueden ver a mis espaldas, quiero que compartan, porque hoy es un día histórico. Hoy es un día histórico para el estado de la Florida, hoy es un día histórico para todos los que de alguna manera luchamos en contra del comunismo donde quiera que esté, seas político o no seas político. Y hoy es ese gran día para todos nosotros. Quiero mostrarles muy bien lo que va a suceder con esta conferencia de prensa y qué es lo que estamos haciendo aquí, lo que yo les decía hace algunas semanas. Que nuestros niños, sobre todo, conozcan en nuestras escuelas, en los Estados Unidos, sobre el comunismo, sobre ese sistema que lo que quiere es la destrucción del mundo. Y específicamente, aquí a mis espaldas, como pueden ver, hay muchos expresos políticos de diferentes países que vinieron a apoyar esta ley. También conmemorar un día específico para recordar a todas las víctimas del comunismo. Y eso es lo que estamos haciendo aquí hoy. Voy a mostrarles un poco y ya apenas va a comenzar casi la conferencia de prensa. Después habrá momentos en los cuales se podrá hablar.
¿Tú vas a transmitir?
Sí, ya.
Mándame el link, por favor.
Entra ahí.
¿Entra en donde? Facebook.
YouTube es más fácil.
Good morning. Ya está live. Perfecto. Déjame.
Ahí está, ¿ves?
Perfecto.
No debe olvidar que son las víctimas que viven en el lado
Como pueden ver, muchísimas personas acá. Está.
Ya. Sube para arriba. Sube para arriba.
todo para arriba. José.
It's not though. Look, sorry. Oh. Pon la cámara fija que voy a subir para arriba. Y coge aquí, que esto que estamos transmitiendo en vivo. Déjalo. Hazme caso. Hazme caso. Hazme caso, que tengo que subir.
Good morning, everyone. We're here today with a group known as victims of communism, and they're all the people who suffered the atrocities of communism throughout the world. Some here in our own hemisphere, and some within hundreds of miles of our own shores. They're all here in support of Representative Zika's bill and Senator Rodriguez's bill, which have been filed in both chambers. Now I would like to introduce Speaker Chris Krause.
Thank you, Ambassador Trujillo, for being with us today here on the steps of Florida's historic capital. I'd like to be among the first members of the Florida House to welcome you back to Florida. I had the privilege of serving with Ambassador Trujillo for a number of years here in the Florida House, and I can't tell you how proud we are of you and how you have labored so hard for freedom over these last several years. Thank you for being with us. I want to thank Representative Zika, who's with us here today, for introducing the Portraits of Patriotism bill in the Florida House to create an essential part of Florida's civic education to teach children in Florida about what makes America truly great and truly special. Portraits of Patriotism directs the Florida Department of Education to build a video library of personal stories told from men and women like some that are standing behind us here today. Heroic stories about how they fled communist regimes to seek freedom in America. We need our children in Florida's classrooms to realize that there are some places in the world where freedom is a luxury and liberty is just a dream. We want them to tell our school children why, of all the nations in the world, they chose the United States of America as their home. The best defense against communism and its spread is for us to learn from those who've experienced its oppression firsthand. That's why bringing these stories of freedom direct to students, not through textbooks, but from real personal stories, will play such an important role in civics education here in the state of Florida. The United States is the only nation powered by an idea that every individual is entitled to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We shouldn't be afraid to share those ideas in our classrooms, to teach our children about those ideals, and to have the difficult discussions that come around them. I look forward to hearing the stories this morning of some of the survivors of communism, and I can't wait to see them echoed personally to individual students in the state of Florida. Because we should all remember, todos somos americanos. We are all Americans. I'm proud to welcome our Portraits of Patriotism sponsor of the Florida House, Representative Artie Zika. Thank you, Speaker Sprouse and Ambassador Trujillo, and all the members that have come here this morning. America is a place of big dreams and unique achievements. Where your place of beginning does not determine your place of becoming. As an American who began my journey as an immigrant from Kosovo, I'm a product of America's exceptionalism. When I came to America, I found a place to long for. I found a place to live. And I found a place to love. America is an amazing nation, and I'm proud and blessed to be an American. Many people have fled dictatorships in places like Cuba and Venezuela, and they found a beacon of light in America and here in Florida. This is why I have introduced House Bill 5, the Portrait in Patriotism Act, to share our American stories with the next generation of Floridians. America is a unique place. Together, we can become an unstoppable force for greatness. And I would like to take this opportunity to welcome Senate bill sponsor, Senator Ana Maria Rodriguez. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning to all. It is such an honor to be here and stand in solidarity with the people that are not only standing behind me, but the countless millions of people that are in this nation, in our great nation, because they had fled from communism. This legislation is not only important, it is necessary for us to be able to tell our stories. I'm also a victim of communism, even though I was born in the United States of America and I am blessed to be an American citizen. My parents and grandparents fled and left everything they had behind, coming in search of freedom and in search of a better life for the future generations. And I am grateful to them for having made that decision. Thank you all so much for being here, and have a beautiful day.
We're also going to hear from Representative David Barrero, who's the sponsor of the Victims of Communism Memorial Day. Representative Barrero.
Good morning. Thank you for being with us this morning. I'm sponsoring House Bill 1553, which commemorates the millions of victims who have died due to communism. Over 100 million lives have been lost under communist regimes. What this bill does is it requires the Florida legislature to declare November 7th as Victims of Communism Memorial Day to remember the millions of lives that were lost at the Tiananmen Square massacre in China, under the Soviet Union, in Nicaragua, in Venezuela, in Cuba, and across the entire world. November 7th, Victims of Communism Day, was the first day of the first communist regime during the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia. Thank you.
We'll also hear from Representative Dana Perez.
Thank you, Ambassador Trujillo and Speaker Sprowls and Representative Zika and Senator Ana Maria Rodriguez and Representative Guerrero for putting together this good legislation. You know, we're here today with people that have firsthand seen the ramifications and what it does in the immediate time and in the future when communism is in front of their face.
Yo me recuerdo la historia que mis abuelos me decían sobre la perla del Caribe. Hoy en día, esa perla no es la perla que te cuentan mis abuelos, mis tíos, mis padres. And that is exactly what we're here for today. We're here for today to make sure that that pearl of the Caribbean that was taken away doesn't happen in other places. We're here to make sure that we commemorate those that have had to flee their country in Nicaragua, in Venezuela, in China, and so many other places. We need to make sure that we learn from the oppression of the history that has happened, to make sure that here in this great country, we never go backwards and we only look forward. And it is the legislation that you're hearing about today that we will continue to push forward with the strong representatives and senators behind us under the direction of Speaker Sprowls that will assure us that this great country will never become the country that we're talking about in the past. So thank you guys for being here today. Muchas gracias por el apoyo. Gracias por montarse en un autobús por horas para estar con nosotros en este evento. De parte de la Cámara de Representantes, se lo agradecemos del corazón. Muchas gracias y siempre vamos a estar aquí con ustedes para apoyarlos sobre este tema. Muchas gracias.
The people behind this represent some of the dozen victims of communism, over the 100 million that have lived in this world. Some of them who are here today have been imprisoned, have been beaten, have been violated, have lost limbs, have lost friends, have lost everything. We have a few of them who will share their stories here today. Some others will testify in committee, and a lot of them will submit their written testimonials later on today for the record. First, I welcome from Nicaragua, Ana Margarita Alauza and Gustavo Pepe.
Good morning to all. My name is Ana Alauza. I'm a Nicaraguan American. I came to this beautiful United States in 1979, right after the communist Sandinista regime took power in Nicaragua. I was in my last year of high school when I left. Many of my classmates didn't have the same luck that I did to come to this country. They had to just stay and suffer through the perils of the communist regime. I graduated U.S. here in the States, married a Venezuelan, and went back to Venezuela in 1986. I made it my home for 20 years, until another communist came into power, Hugo Chavez, and destroyed Venezuela's civil society. I had to leave the country with my family, second time on the run, leaving everything behind. I have been very lucky to be able to come to this great country, which I had made my own, and for which I swore in 1990 that I would defend and that I would make prosper. This is the country of my children and my grandchildren. Communism feeds on poverty and illiteracy. It sells a product that is not the real thing. I am here today because I really believe that we must teach our children to understand the rights and privileges that we have acquired through democracy, and through showing them the real story of communism, present them with the cruel reality that people under communist and socialism of the 21st century regimes go through. I've seen in my own home how social media and schools have done to some of my younger relatives. Constant brainwashing, especially this past 2020, trying to make them think that communism is not a bad concept and that socialism is just like in Sweden and Germany. Well, that's not true. Socialism here in these America is just finance, it's just pure communism, financed by drug trafficking and corruption, nothing less. We need to teach our children how to look for a better future. Nobody to come and tell them that what is good for them. We need to provide that in the schools so that they know that they deserve a better future. Thank you very much.
Thank you to the House of Representatives, Florida Senators, Ambassador Trujillo. My name is Gustavo Tefel. I'm 55 years old, Nicaraguan, father of 3, married. This is the second time I seek refuge in this great country. The first time was in the early 80s when Somoza was overthrown by the force, by the Sandinistas. And now, since 2018, I had to seek refuge again because of threats and harassment to my family just because I was helping the victims of the regime during the crisis of 2018. My son was actually, or is actually the same age that I was in the 1980s when I had to seek refuge here in this country for the first time. So somehow we have to break that cycle that keeps repeating itself. Nicaragua, in Nicaragua, we have a dictator, which is Daniel Ortega. He has been accused of raping his stepdaughter, and now he is raping our country every day by killing the people, imprisoning the people, and torturing the Nicaraguan people, and also just reaping all our natural resources, our forests, our gold mines, by murky deals with the miners, and we have to stop this. We have to unveil them. We have to really let the world know how harmful communism is for our countries. Thank you very much.
We also have a witness here from several witnesses, the one that'll speak briefly, Hector Escalona, he's from Venezuela.
Good morning, everyone. First, I apologize for my English. My English is basic, but my testimony is very strong. So, I have a lot to tell about. I will agree. communisms, Nicolas Maduro Chavez equals Holocaust. Communisms start when the government scam, when the self-reliant and the manipulated terms source as human rights and their companies. I am a Venezuelan victim of communism. I believe that what is happening today will become very important for the stability of all countries in the world. This testimony here is an opportunity to save others because if more countries lose their democracy, this would be an irreparable catastrophe for humanity. Education is the basis of the truth against communism. Grateful for being here for allowing me to live my Venezuelan testimony. I hope that this bill approved and is a legacy of salvation for democracy is the word, especially that in the coming years my country may be adopt something similar in its constitution. I'm sorry. Quiero agradecer especialmente a los senadores y a todas las personas que han hecho acto de presencia. Para nosotros los venezolanos es bastante difícil explicar lo que es el comunismo actual, la desgracia que vivimos. Y me permito hablar en mi idioma natal español, ya que lo que se siente y esta oportunidad tiene que servir para que el mundo entero entienda cómo escapamos, cómo las víctimas de un comunismo pueden entrar a una nación tan grande, tan estable como los Estados Unidos de Norteamérica y con la labor que están haciendo ustedes en permitirnos. Thank you very much.
Our last speakers today, we're going to have Máximo Álvarez, Adolfo Fernández, Rosa María Payá, and Omar López Montenegro. Mr. Álvarez.
Well, good morning, everybody. I don't see anybody left here celebrating the fact that we are in America. I've told my story many times, so I don't think I have to say it again. But I am the American dream life. And I'm only one of many, many millions of people who come to this country for the same reason. Looking for freedom. And we are in jeopardy. Simply because some people have swallowed the communist bill. And I ask and I beg, brothers and sisters, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, whatever, learn the truth. Make sure that you understand that what they're telling you is not the reality. Open borders, defund the police, free healthcare, free welfare. I've heard that before, and that, I'm telling you, is not the truth. Believe me, the stories that we have are not impacted to us because we have lived what communism is like. We have lost our families, brothers, some of us, friends, mom and dad. So make sure that this doesn't happen in this great country of ours. We need to tell the story to our children, to those kids who are being indoctrinated by the academia, those people who listen to the news, the fake news, who are not telling us the truth. So listen to these real stories of people who have suffered, where we want to make sure that our children and our grandchildren do not suffer. Thank you very much, and be proud. I am very proud I come from. I'm very proud my parents from Spain. Very proud I was born in Cuba. But I am an American, because this is the last country that will preserve the freedom of the entire world. So thank you very much. It's very difficult for me to only speak for 2 minutes, but I've been told that it is. So I could sit here and tell you horrible stories as you're going to hear from some of my fellow brothers and sisters. Thank you very much, and may God bless America.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here. I am a victim of communism. I am Adolfo Fernandez Sainz. I was sentenced to 15 years in prison. I served 7.5 for writing articles about my country and for telling the truth about the situation we were living through. There are other members of that group of 75 dissidents who were sentenced to very long sentences in Cuban prison. No child in America born today, no American citizens born in this country have ever seen tyranny. And that has been true for 20 generations. May God preserve America from tyranny for many generations to come. Communism is a very insidious form of tyranny. Despite its numerous crimes, hundreds of millions of victims, communism is today still cloaked in respectability. It is wrapped in an aura of prestige. Only last year, the presidential candidate in the United States of America wondered publicly what was wrong with Cuba. In Florida, there are quite a number of citizens of Cuban origin, and also, alas, others are now coming from Venezuela and from Nicaragua. We all have a very clear picture of what communism is all about. This is why we have left our beloved countries. In Latin America, the Cuban case, preceded by the Cuban Revolution, was totally misunderstood for generations. Only after the Venezuelan Holocaust occurred did many in this hemisphere began to understand in all its cruelty the tragedy of Cuban communism. I don't blame them. I would have also believed. It is a very slippery slope, and there is a lot at stake. America is at stake. It's imperative that our youth be told just the facts, just the kinds of principles that are violated by communism, just the lies that our peoples have been told about their future. There is no need to exaggerate, just the plain facts. Let's tell them about the millions of victims in all communist societies without an exception. And then let our children choose. Thank you very much.
Speaker, senators, representatives here for this initiative. Thank you so much, Ambassador Trujillo, and also the Memorial Foundation Victims of Communism for accompanying this initiative. My name is Rosa Maria Maya. I'm Cuban, and on July 22nd, 2012, on orders from the island's dictators, agents of the Cuban regime's intelligence services, which is well known in Latin America as the G2, assaulted the car in which, in that moment, probably the best-known opposition leader from the island, my father, Oswaldo Payá, and a dear friend, Harold Cepero, were traveling. The regime-orchestrated assault resulted in their death. And these actions remain unpunished till today. And that impunity is the mark of the communist dictatorships. My father and Harold, they were not the first ones. Many Cubans have suffered on the hands of the communist dictators. Thousands of them have died on the hands of the communist dictatorships. Thousands of them are today suffering the repression of the communist dictators on the island. And it is essential that the new generations know the horrors that communist dictatorship have caused in the countries where they have been or the countries in which they are still in power. Knowledge of the facts is a necessary condition for advancing the political culture of democracy, such as the one that we aspire to have in Latin America and also here in the Americas. It is key because tolerated for 6 decades, a totalitarian regime in Cuba has also caused the collapse of the democracy in Venezuela, in Nicaragua, the democratic instability of the whole Latin American region, and has also imposed a national security threat for many countries in Latin America, but also here in the state. The Castro dictators transformed my father in a victim of communism. Actually, they transformed my whole family in victims of communism. But my father was an advocate of democracy. As all of us here today, democracy needs advocates, and that starts by education. And that's why I urge all the representatives in the state of Florida to pass this bill and help everybody, not just to remember and honor the victims of communism, but to defend democracy in the Americas. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everybody. First, I want to thank the Florida House of Representatives for this opportunity, Ambassador Carlos Trujillo, and also the Memorial Victims of Communism for giving me this opportunity to be here. My name is Omar Lopez Montenegro, and I'm one of the founders of the human rights movement inside Cuba. And also I want to point out something that it is very important. Communism is based on the control of education. Why education is so important? Let me tell you an story. In 1978, I was a student at the university. Me and other students were sanctioned just by making commentary critics to the politics of the revolution. We were placed in front of our own students, our friends, who were students as us, and they performed something that is called an act of repudiation. Our friends, our fellow students, telling that we were delinquents, that we should be in jail, that we should be expelled from the university, and actually we were expelled from the university. And that starts my career as a human rights advocate inside Cuba. And this is important because we are talking here about how to educate people, how to prevent people to believe the lies of communism. And one of the biggest lies about communism is the idea that black people enjoy all liberties, equalities under communism. And that's a blatant lie. Under communism, being a Negro is not a race. It's a political design of the government. Like the ominous character portrayed by Samuel Jackson in that movie Django Unchained, we had to be the Stephans. We had to kill or die for an ideology, for a system controlled by one party that controls the education, that controls mass media. So we are forced to choose between homeland or death. That's the slogan of the government. Right now, the Cuban people are choosing between homeland and life. And this is important. Communism propagates division and violence. The Cuban people, the Afro-descendants in Cuba, are propagating non-violence and freedom. And that's the main issue here. And that's why we are here. We need to educate, especially our own generations, in the idea that civility is more important than anything else. That being tolerant, that being able to recognize difference is what makes democracy great. And that's why we are all here, to enjoy the benefits of democracy, the benefits that we are not able to enjoy in Cuba, the benefits that my father died in Cuba, and I haven't had the chance to see my father again, because there is a government who pretends to be the owner of the homeland. And to finalize my argument, I will say we are all victims of communism. Because everywhere there is injustice in the name of communism, everywhere that somebody is killed, put in prison, in Nicaragua, in Venezuela, in many countries in Latin America and throughout the world, every time a person is put in jail, our freedom is challenged. And we need to think about that. What is freedom? It's just enjoying the benefits here in the United States? Well, if somebody is attacked because of lack of freedom in other countries, lack of freedom may come to the United States one day. So we need to start defending freedom in the first front. The fourth front of freedom and democracy is education. So we need a better education so people can recognize which are victims of communism and we are all victims of communism. Like Dr. Martin Luther King used to say, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Thank you very much.
Good morning. On behalf of the Victims of Communism Memorial Foundation, I would like to thank Ambassador Trujillo and the sponsors of the Education Curriculum Bill, Senator Rodriguez, Representative Zika, and the sponsor of the Victims of Communism Memorial Day Bill, Representative Guerrero, and especially all of the brave champions of freedom who have resisted communist tyranny, whose stories you have heard today, who are here with us. I am proud to stand here with you all today. As you have heard, over the past century, communist totalitarian regimes in some 40 nations have killed more than 100 million people and subjected countless more to exploitation, violence, and untold devastation. These victims were shot dead in the Bolshevik Revolution. They were starved in the Holodomor Ukraine famine. They were worked to death in the Soviet Gulag. They were exiled to Siberia in the Baltic deportations. They were executed on Cuba's Isle of Pines. They were beaten to death in China's Cultural Revolution. They drowned fleeing Vietnam by boat. Their bones litter Cambodia's killing fields. Although the Soviet Union collapsed and the Berlin Wall fell, 1/5 of the world's population today is still suffering under single-party Leninist regimes. In Cuba, Venezuela, and Nicaragua, the horrors of socialism and communism continue today, and you have heard firsthand witness accounts of those who have suffered torture and violence at the hands of these regimes. In China, the Chinese Communist Party is committing genocide against Uyghur Muslims and other religious and ethnic minorities. Up to 3 million Uyghur Muslims are today, in the 21st century, incarcerated in concentration camps. A majority of Uyghur women are being forcibly sterilized, and Uyghur men are being forced into modern-day slavery. Yet, the majority of young Americans simply do not know the history of communist regimes. They don't know that there have been 100 million victims of communism, or about the destruction and death that it has brought. So they sport t-shirts with the portrait of Che Guevara, thinking that he's a hero, when in fact he was a favorable. This is why the education curriculum bill is so important. Americans must learn about the crimes of communist regimes and about the legacy of those champions of freedom who have resisted communist tyranny. So again, we thank the sponsors of this important legislation. We urge the Florida legislature to swiftly pass this education curriculum bill, and we look forward to Florida becoming one of the first states to officially recognize the Victims of Communism Memorial Day. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for coming. We look forward to seeing you in the committee for those presentations.
Verga, weón.
Bueno, mis amigos, como pudieron ver, esto es lo que ha sucedido en la mañana de hoy. Vamos a entrevistar a algunos de ellos, así que gracias a todos por estar ahí y nos vemos en breve, ¿ok? Gracias a todos. Creo que es sumamente importante levantar la voz, ¿ok? En contra del comunismo, donde quiera que esté. Así que ustedes saben.